Hello, U.S. History students. Mrs. Olson here with a video lesson for the Power Source Analysis assignments located here in 3.7. Before we begin, let's review over the big ideas for Unit 3. So scrolling back up here to the top with our lesson on power and morality, we discussed and introduced the vocabulary terms of foreign policy, power, and morality. All of these terms have been woven into the lessons that followed. So you want to have these terms in the back of your mind as we continue with Unit 3. We then turned our focus onto World War II and the motivations for U.S. entry into the war, the role we played, and how the U.S. rose to power after this global war, which brings us to our current lesson. All right, now here's another piece of review. The driving question for Unit 3 is, should the United States intervene in world affairs? You always want to have this in the back of your mind as you go through the lessons and the resources and material for Unit 3. Now we're going to land on the reason why this video lesson was made. So if you go into the first power source analysis, see number 1, Roman numeral number 1, you are going to see a link for power source analysis 1, which is going to force copy the assignment, okay? So looking at the top of this, what I would like to do is to go over the directions, which are going to be same for source analysis 1 and source analysis 2. So at the top here it reads, the first thing that you're going to do is analyze the source. Well, what in the heck does that mean? It means that you are going to dissect. I like to think of dissect as picking it apart. You are going to scrutinize the words that are here and the numbers, and you're going to try to connect what the words and the numbers all mean, all right? So that's what I said right here. Try to make sense of the data. The second part of this is before you begin doing anything, right? Before you begin writing, I should say, you want to look at the analysis questions. So before you write, take time to organize your thoughts. At the bottom here, you're going to notice that there are 3 questions, 2 in this box, in these boxes, and then the third one here, okay? So you're going to want to read over those. And then the third part, you're going to answer the analysis questions about this infographic by writing with complete sentences, because complete sentences help to clarify whatever it is that you are trying to say. All right, now I am going to lead you through each part of, well, not each part, but I am going to lead you through parts of this infographic and then the answers to these questions. Before we do that, I want to take some time. If you want to pause it right now, pause it so that you can look at the details of this infographic without me going on in the background. Okay, so pause if you want to pause. And here we go. Now, the top of this says, these say the same thing. Not sure exactly why it's there twice, but it is. It says majorities, so the majority of people, right, the biggest number of people out of a given population say good diplomacy. Let's look up diplomacy. Diplomacy, the profession, activity, or skill of managing international relations, typically by a country's representatives abroad. So the United States has people in government that we send to other countries to have conversations, to make decisions about our relationships with each other. Okay, so that is diplomacy. Majorities say good diplomacy is the best way to ensure peace. Ensure. Well, since we have this open, let's just type it in. ensure. Make certain that something shall occur or be the case. When you ensure something, you want to make sure that that thing happens. Majority say good diplomacy is the best way to make sure that peace happens. Allies' interests, our allies are our friends around the globe, the nations that we have a relationship with. I'll say a working relationship with. Okay, so allies' interests should be taken into account. All right, I'm going to scroll a little bit so that you can see the percentage of people who say the U.S. should follow its own national interests down here. And then on the other side of the graph, take into account the interests of its allies. And then you can see how the numbers fall on that side of the column. So this is the total number of people that Pew Research Center asked. These are the people who are Republican and Democrat. Okay, and then the other part of the graph, percentage who say the best way to make sure that peace happens is by using military strength or with good diplomacy. Okay, and then you can see how the numbers fall there. Now, going down to our first question, we are looking for evidence that supports U.S. intervention. Okay, in this case, looking at this graph, this is the side that we are going to look at regarding U.S. intervention. All right. If we use the military, that is intervening. If we are making decisions to ensure peace, we are intervening. All right, so let's just look at the data and write 73% say that good diplomacy is the best way to ensure peace, while 26% say that military strength is the best way to do this. Okay. All right, I just colored this side so that the answer is very apparent. Now, on the other side of the coin, what evidence opposes future U.S. intervention? And that is where we are going to turn our attention to this one. All right, so percentage of people who say the U.S. should follow its own national interests to not get involved. And then right here, this is also a different way to look at that question. This, while it's not entirely opposing, it is saying that these 68% of the population is going to take into account the interests of the allies before they get involved. So, okay, remember, we are just looking at evidence. And so what we have written here is really a reworking of the data. And segue into the third question. To save time, I have stopped the video and written it here. It says, what can we learn from this source about American views and beliefs on U.S. intervention? So this is what you are doing with the entire graphic. You're trying to make sense of the data, and you are writing how you are making sense of the data with complete sentences. Okay, so right here, sentence starters, just two that I put in here for you. You could say the graphic shows, which is what I've written here, or if you like data in numbers, you could again state what you see, and then you can summarize how you're interpreting the facts. I'm going to read what I wrote here. It says, this graphic shows that many people in the United States believe that we should have a foreign policy agenda that prioritizes maintaining peaceful relationships. Right? That is what we're talking about here, with 73% of the population wanting good diplomacy with other countries without the use of force. This suggests that a large portion of the population are against military intervention. Now, does it say that exactly? Not exactly, but remember, this is you making sense of the data. This is you explaining how you interpret what you are seeing in the numbers and in the graphs presented to you. Okay, so once again, with the source analyses, you are looking at information. You are picking apart the data by placing evidence in this column that supports U.S. intervention, evidence in this column that opposes U.S. intervention, and then you are explaining how all of that information comes together and how it makes sense to you regarding should the United States intervene in world affairs. All right, everyone, write to me through the Canvas inbox if you have any questions. Bye.